Bhutan is a small, landlocked country in the eastern Himalayas, between India and China. Though small in size, it has a long, rich, and unique history shaped by its mountains, its Buddhist traditions, and its determination to remain independent. The story of Bhutan is a story of how a remote region slowly became a unified kingdom, how religion shaped politics, how leaders protected their culture, and how the country carefully stepped into the modern world while trying to preserve its identity. The following history walks through Bhutan's early origins, the rise of Buddhism, the unification of the nation, its relations with bigger neighbors, and its more recent transformation into a democratic constitutional monarchy. Long before Bhutan became a single nation, the region was home to many small communities scattered across deep valleys, high mountains, and dense forests. Archaeologists have found stone tools and other hints that people lived in present-day Bhutan thousands of years ago. These early inhabitants likely survived by hunting, gathering, and later by farming crops like barley, buckwheat, and millet. There were also herding communities who moved with their animals up and down the mountain slopes. In ancient times, Bhutan did not exist as one united kingdom. Rather, the land was divided into many valleys, each with its own local rulers and traditions. Some areas were influenced by Tibet, while others had ties to Assam and Bengal in the Indian plains. Because the Himalayas formed a natural barrier, the region remained isolated and was hardly mentioned in early historical records. Even the name Bhutan was not originally used by its people. It is thought to have come from an Indian word meaning highland. Locally, the land was known by different names, including Drukyul, meaning land of the thunder dragon, a name still used by Bhutanese people today. The most important event in Bhutan's early cultural history was the arrival of Buddhism. According to tradition, Buddhism reached Bhutan as early as the 7th century. It is believed that Tibetan king Songtsen Gampo sent Buddhist influence into the region when he built temples in areas that now lie in western and central Bhutan. However, the most important figure in Bhutan's Buddhist history is Guru Rinpoche, also known as Padmasambhava. He is said to have come to Bhutan in the 8th century to subdue harmful spirits and to spread Buddhist teachings. Many Bhutanese stories celebrate his miracles and describe how he traveled across the mountains, leaving sacred sites behind. One of the most famous is the cliffside monastery of Taktsang, or Tiger's Nest, which tradition says he meditated in after arriving on the back of a flying tigress. Over time, Buddhism became deeply rooted in Bhutanese society. Various Buddhist masters and monks arrived from Tibet, founding monasteries and teaching local people. Different Buddhist schools competed for influence, and many valleys became centers of spiritual learning. Buddhism gave the scattered communities a shared cultural identity, even before the country was politically united. Between the 12th and 17th centuries, Bhutan was a land of many monasteries, each connected to powerful religious leaders. Local rulers called Penlops and Jongpons controlled different valleys and fortresses, Jongs. A Jong was not just a religious center, but also a political and military headquarters. These leaders often competed with each other for land power and influence. During this period, Bhutan had intermittent contact and conflict with Tibet. Some Tibetan religious figures tried to extend their influence southward into Bhutan. At times, these encounters became military conflicts. Because the valleys were separated by difficult terrain, it was hard for any one ruler to control the whole region. The result was a landscape of small, independent powers, each with its own alliances and rivalries. This age of division lasted until the arrival of one remarkable figure, Ngawang Namgyal, who would unify Bhutan and create the foundations of the modern state. In 1616, a Tibetan Lama named Ngawang Namgyal fled to Bhutan after facing political and religious conflicts in Tibet. When he arrived, many Bhutanese leaders welcomed him, and he soon gained followers across the region. He came to be known as the Zhabdrung, a title meaning at the feet of whose command one submits. Ngawang Namgyal achieved what no one before him had successfully done. He united Bhutan's separate valleys into a single political entity. He did this through a combination of diplomacy, religious authority, military strength, and organizational skill. He built powerful jongs in strategic places, including Punakha, Paro, and Trongsa. These jongs served as both monasteries and administrative centers, and remain some of Bhutan's most important buildings even today. The Zhabdrung also created a new political structure known as the dual system of government. In this system, the state had two heads, a religious leader, Jikampo, who oversaw spiritual matters, and a secular leader, Drukdesi, who handled political and administrative issues. Ngawang Namgyal placed himself above both, acting as the supreme authority. During his leadership, Bhutan successfully defended itself against multiple invasions from Tibet. These victories helped strengthen national unity and identity. When the Zhabdrung passed away in 1651, the announcement of his death was delayed for decades to prevent the young nation from falling into conflict. Nevertheless, after a period of stable unification, Bhutan eventually entered a time of internal struggles once again. Following Ngawang Namgyal's death, Bhutan's dual system continued, but without a strong central figure, disagreements and power struggles returned. Different regional rulers, the Penlops of Trongsa, Paro, and other areas fought for influence. The system was complex, as the country tried to balance religious leadership with secular power. With no hereditary monarchy, leadership changed frequently, sometimes through peaceful succession but often through conflict. Throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, Bhutan also engaged in wars with its neighbors. There were several clashes with Tibet over border issues. Bhutan also had conflicts with the British East India Company, which was expanding its influence in the Indian subcontinent. The most significant of these conflicts occurred in the 1770s and again in the 1860s, as British forces sought to secure trade routes and protect their interests in Bengal and Assam. These battles weakened Bhutan's position and increased instability inside the country. Many Bhutanese leaders recognized that the country needed a more stable and centralized political system. This realization would eventually lead to the creation of the Bhutanese monarchy. Toward the end of the 19th century, the most powerful regional leader in Bhutan was the Penlop of Trongsa. The position had become important because Trongsa lay in central Bhutan, controlling routes between the eastern and western regions. The man who held this post, Wangchuck, proved to be a strong and skillful leader. He had successfully resolved several internal conflicts and had shown diplomatic wisdom in dealing with the British. In 1907, Bhutanese leaders from across the country gathered and unanimously chose Wangchuck as Bhutan's first hereditary king. This moment marked the end of the old dual system of constant power struggles and the beginning of a stable monarchy. Wangchuck became Druk Gyalpo, the Dragon King, and founded the Wangchuck dynasty, which continues to rule Bhutan today. As king, Wangchuck worked to strengthen national unity. He formed peaceful relations with the British Indian government and helped Bhutan gain respect as an independent kingdom. Although the country remained isolated from much of the world, Bhutan began taking cautious steps toward modernization. When India gained independence from Britain in 1947, Bhutan quickly established friendly relations with the new nation. In 1949, Bhutan and India signed a treaty that ensured mutual respect and peaceful relations. India agreed not to interfere in Bhutan's internal affairs, while Bhutan consulted India on external matters. This agreement gave Bhutan security and stability during a time when many small countries worried about their independence. King Dorji Wangchuck, the third king, played a major role in deepening this relationship. Under his leadership, Bhutan began to open up to the outside world and started working with international organizations. Bhutan joined the United Nations in 1971, marking an important step in its global engagement. King Dorji Wangchuck, R. 1952–1972, often called the father of modern Bhutan, brought many reforms. He established a national assembly, reformed the legal system, abolished serfdom, built schools, introduced modern medicine, and improved transportation. Roads were built connecting major valleys, making travel far easier than in the past when people had to walk for days or weeks through mountains. After his death, his son, King Wangchuck, became the fourth king in 1972 at the age of 16. One of his most famous ideas was gross national happiness, GNH. This philosophy states that development should be based not only on economic growth, but also on cultural preservation, good governance, environmental protection, and the well-being of the people. This made Bhutan known around the world for its unique approach to development. Under the fourth king, Bhutan continued to modernize carefully. Hydropower projects were developed, creating an important source of income. Schools and hospitals spread across the country. Television and the internet were introduced in 1999. But throughout these changes, Bhutan tried to protect its traditions, environment, and identity. One of the most remarkable events in Bhutanese history is the peaceful transition to democracy. Unlike many countries where democracy comes after revolution or crisis, Bhutan's democracy came by choice of the king. King Jigme Sinjul Wangchuck believed that power should not remain in the hands of a monarch forever. He wanted a political system that would remain strong even after his time. In the early 2000s, he began transferring authority to elected leaders. A new constitution was drafted, and the king encouraged the people to learn about democratic processes. In 2006, he abdicated the throne voluntarily in favor of his son, Jigme Namgyal Wangchuck, who became the fifth king. In 2008, Bhutan held its first parliamentary elections and formally became a constitutional monarchy. The constitution gave democratic institutions clear powers while keeping the king as a respected national symbol. Today, Bhutan is known for balancing tradition with modernization. The country continues to prioritize gross national happiness and environmental protection. More than 70% of the country remains covered in forests. And Bhutan is one of the few carbon-negative nations in the world, meaning it absorbs more carbon than it produces. The government works to improve education, healthcare, and communication networks while protecting cultural heritage. Bhutan faces challenges such as its small economy, geographic isolation, and the need for jobs for young people. But it also has many strengths, such as strong national unity, a stable government, and a deep respect for its environment and culture. Bhutan remains a unique example of a country trying to develop in its own way, without losing the values that have guided it through centuries. The history of Bhutan is a story of a land shaped by mountains, religion, and strong leaders. From early scattered communities to the unifying leadership of the Zhabdrung, from the establishment of the monarchy to its peaceful transition to democracy, Bhutan has followed a path unlike that of any other nation. Its commitment to cultural preservation, spiritual values, and thoughtful modernization has helped it maintain stability in a rapidly changing world. Today, Bhutan stands as a small but proud nation, known for its beauty, its traditions, and its belief that true progress comes not only from material wealth, but from happiness, harmony, and balance.